Are you looking for help for your food addiction and you don't know where to start? Welcome to this series, The Food Addiction Frontlines, where we uncover the expertise and services available for overcoming food addiction. I'm Dr. Vera Tarman, an addictions physician specializing in sugar and ultra-processed food addiction. Today, we meet Susan Peirce Thompson. Welcome, Susan.
Hey, Vera. So good to be here with you.
Starting off with the question, what inspired you to move into the field of food addiction? I know you were studying psychology, but what got you here?
Yeah, my own addiction, really. Drug addiction as a teenager, wicked drug addiction, crystal meth, crack cocaine, dropped out of high school. I got clean and sober when I was 20, and then my addiction jumped to food. And by my mid-20s, I was living with obesity. I was desperate. I knew I was a food addict because I could tell I was using food the way I use drugs, but I didn't know what to do about it. I tried 12-step options. I tried eating disorder treatment. I tried lots of different things. I finally found relief when I was 28 years old, and that started a life of service in this field. Meanwhile, I had gotten a PhD in brain and cognitive sciences, and I was a psychology professor, a tenured psychology professor a little later by my mid 30s. And then the universe just put it on my heart, really, in my morning meditation to write a book called Bright Line Eating. And the purpose of that book was really to educate the world about the role that food addiction plays in the obesity pandemic and how really people struggle with their weight is, for many of them, an underlying struggle with addiction, an addictive relationship with food. And I knew about the neuroscience of that. I was teaching a college course on the psychology of eating and the neuroscience of food addiction. I'd been teaching that for many years. And so I wanted to help educate the world. And that grew into the Bright Line Eating movement.
Can you be more specific about your training and your credentials in the field of food addiction?
Yeah, so I have a PhD in brain and cognitive sciences. That's not a food addiction degree. There's no such thing. There's no PhD in food addiction studies, as far as I know.
Not yet.
Um, so not yet. So I have a PhD in brain and cognitive sciences, and I did a postdoc in psychology at the University of New South Wales. And then, like I said, became a tenured psychology professor and taught one of the only courses that I'm aware of in the psychology of eating and the neuroscience of food addiction at the college level. So a lot of my training and experience predates the existence of any
Yeah.
formal food addiction treatment. I'm on the faculty of the InFact School, which is the only credentialing institution that we have right now on food addiction, and I serve on the faculty there.
You have written a book and you have services. Tell us a little bit about your book and what services you provide.
I've written 4 books. The first one was called Bright Line Eating. It's a New York Times bestseller. It really outlines how the brain blocks people from losing their excess weight, how food addiction works, who's susceptible and why, and what to do about it. And then the second book is a cookbook. The third book is all about relapse. It's all about how to inoculate yourself against relapse, what to do if you do relapse, how a recovery journey that includes a lot of relapse needs to be more nuanced, and how you navigate yourself through that if that's your experience. That was my experience. Very grateful to not be in that place now. It's called Resume, REZOM is the relapse book. And then I have a daily meditation reader called On This Bright Day that's for people on a food addiction recovery journey. And then I'm writing my 5th book, which is called Maintain, and it's all about maintenance.
Huh.
Now, Brightline Eating, the company and the movement really starts with a Brightline Eating boot camp that's a 10-week online course. And then that's the beginning of what we call the Bright Roadmap, which is a series of courses that takes about 3 years to get all the way through. And there's an annual membership that people are in that's called Bright Lifers. And we're the only place to go, I believe, for a comprehensive multi-tier educational experience on maintenance, like long-term maintenance of recovery from food addiction. What we offer at Brightline Eating is, I would say, primarily weight focused in the sense of we get people in typically who want to lose their excess weight and are aware that their addiction is stopping them. We do get people who are in their healthy, right-sized body at that moment who join Bright Line Eating for the freedom from food addiction and the mental chatter. But what we really excel at is helping people recover from food addiction as they lose their excess weight and then transition them into maintenance long term. I would consider Bright Line Eating to be the primary group-based alternative to 12-step programs. So if someone finds that a 12-step solution is not a path for them for whatever reason, higher power wise, or whatever language they don't like or approach they don't like or whatever, Bright Line Eating is a viable alternative. I don't do any personal clinical work. I don't have any one-on-one clients. I run a fairly large company that works with thousands of people in a group setting. Some of the groups are smaller, but I run a team of people who work with people en masse. I also provide free education on our YouTube channel. I put out a weekly vlog every week on some aspect of food addiction that people can access for free. And most of my books are available in the library.
You have a Facebook group, don't you?
Yes, but it's private. It's for members. So we
Okay.
do not have any public facing Facebook group. We have a Facebook page with tens of thousands of followers.
Okay. Do your staff do one-on-one? If somebody wanted one-on-one, could they get it with you?
What we offer individual coaching in a group setting. So a
Okay,
coach
got
will
it.
talk with someone one-on-one for 10, 15, 20 minutes on a coaching call, but it's not one-on-one coaching. I will say that we offer eating disorder support. We have Dr. Joy Jacobs, who's an eating disorder expert, who's also cross-trained in food addiction. And so if people are experiencing eating disorder symptoms, we have some support for them and we have ways for them to go deeper if they need to.
Do you offer a food plan?
Absolutely. And it's modifiable. We have coaches. A lot of what the coaches do is help people modify their food plan if they're a food addict, but they've got diverticulitis or whatever, right? And they need some modifications, right? So we're really good with that kind of stuff, helping people modify it. But yes, we have a very specific food plan.
What would you consider strengths that you, yeah, I think you've already mentioned some of them.
Yeah, I think that this issue of food addiction recovery has been my number one focus now for 30 years. And so I would say longevity of expertise in the field. I've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people now. I wonder if I'm the human being on earth who's helped more people than any other single person to lose their excess weight and keep it off long term. Like almost nobody succeeds at that job, mostly I think because they ignore the food addiction recovery aspect of that
Yeah.
problem. And so I would say that's my strength, and also that I come from a strong academic perspective. I come from a strong research academic background. So I don't know of many other food addiction experts. You're one of them, actually, who comes from a strong academic background like that. So I would say that's a strength too. And I hope I'm good at explaining things. That's what I like to do is just help people understand what they're grappling with and why it's so hard to face the food. And so I like to just roll camera and just explain things and answer people's questions that they send in and stuff like that.
Any limitations?
We don't offer deep one-on-one work. So some people find that their food addiction, if they have late stage food addiction, I would say they may find help at Bright Line Eating or they may not. They may need a deeper level of support than we offer. You may have experienced this, Vera, in your recovery life. When people come in the first time, it's often a gift, right? Something clicks
Yeah.
and they just grab onto it and just stick with it from then on. We can take late stage food addicts who come in, hear our message, and go, oh, this is what I need to do. And they're just like, oh, I better just follow this plan as it's outlined. They tend to do great. A late stage food addict, once they start monkeying with it and then they're in the ditch and in the food and binging and in and out, they may have a hard time in Bright Line Eating ultimately recovering. They may need more intensive one-on-one.
That leads to the next question about coexisting conditions. What about somebody who's coming in with trauma or anxiety, depression? Do you refer out?
I would say most people have multiple issues, right? I don't know that many people that have food addiction and don't also have depression, anxiety, and eating disorder, blah, 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 blah. What I would say is that we expect people to have an army of support. Like I have at various times had a life coach or two, a therapist, sponsor, whatever, right? Like you have your support cadre, a spiritual advisor, several best friends, a partner, whatever, a cat, a dog. So we need everyone to have a lot of support. I would say we don't do deep trauma work in Bright Line Eating. Trauma work is a particular kind of thing. Get with someone who does EMDR or really is qualified to do your trauma work.
They could work with your program alongside with their person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what we would expect.
Yeah.
Yes. And we don't prescribe medication. So if you have depression, anxiety, and you need someone to manage meds or to be doing therapy with you, then that would be someone you would be working with in addition to being a Brightline Eating member and going through our curriculum and experience our community of support. I would say what we do very well is group support. Community group support is phenomenal.
How does the family fit into that? Is there some venue for the family as well?
There is not really. No, I have several vlogs out that speak to family dynamics, but we don't offer, for example, a course for
Yeah.
spouses, children's friends of the food addict. We do offer a video that I've put together that is for friends and family. It's about 30 minutes and it explains food addiction, it explains bright line eating, it explains why your person is now needing to do this, that, and the other, and so forth. So we have some supportive materials, but not anything that's like a targeted course for the spouse.
How do you yourself manage to not get in the way of your work in terms of your own personal recovery? How do you stay on board?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's been an evolution for me. And what I've found in particular is I don't go much. How do I put this? It's not like I never go there for any support, but I don't get my primary source of support from the Brightline Eating community anymore. I've realized over the years that everybody there is either an employee and it's an asymmetrical relationship in every case.
Mm.
So this isn't a place where I can be one among many and be in fellowship. And when I'm struggling, bring my problems, I'm holding that container, right? Like I have a role there that's very specific. So that means that I'm an addict in many ways. God bless me. And I'm in recovery. Like I get my support fully from the professionals and places where I get my support. And I'm very well supported. I live a big life. I've got a big family. I've got a lot of employees and I get a lot of support to Stephen Covey would say to sharpen the saw, right?
Yeah.
You got to sharpen the saw.
So how can people learn about you, about your services?
Yeah, brightlineeating.com. I've got a great masterclass out now it's 2 hours long and it really is a great education about food addiction and especially the relationship between food addiction and weight struggles and weight loss drugs and where they fit in. And it's a powerful masterclass. It's free. It's at brightlineeating.com. And I would say go partake of that free education.
Good. Have I missed anything that you would like to showcase?
Yeah, I would say that our published scientific research in peer-reviewed scientific journals shows that bright line eating, so addressing the food addiction, is a better long-term weight loss solution than Ozempic. Um,
Right on.
we're publishing 6-year data now, and they're better than Ozempic's 4-year data by a lot, by 40% better. At 6 years, people are maintaining a 40% more weight loss at 6 years than people on Ozempic are at 4 years for a fraction of the cost. So I would say before you go on weight loss drugs, try addressing the addiction, see what that does.
That's fabulous. I'm looking forward to that article.
Yeah.
Any last words of hope to leave the listener?
Oh, there is hope. There's so much hope. And food addiction recovery requires some rigor. It's the hardest addiction in my experience. I found it harder than crack cocaine. Sorry, it's just my experience. But the recovery has catapulted me into a next level of living. So there's so much hope. There's so much hope. So if you feel like you have an addictive relationship with food, get yourself some support, start looking into it. You'll be very gratified with the results.
Okay, thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you, Vera. It's been a pleasure.
Big sugar is the enemy, corrupting the minds of the teens, expelling you not to foresee. Your body's your temple, your mind is your key to a life tapped into happiness. Have it, don't dream it. If only you could see it. It's all in you and I. It's all in you and I. It's all in you and I. It's all in you and I.